And a very welcome to you and to yours truly. This is Liam T. Jarrett of the Wake Movement. Tonight we will be going over the comedian Dave Smith as he defends Palestine against our Robert F. J. Kennedy, the initials, RFJK Jr., about his stance on Israel. We're going to look into the comedian David Smith, and we will perhaps learn something. It is good and it is pleasant that we are here. Here is a special that we have. But before we go to that, let's go look at this.
Fill her up.
So, a little bit of background. Dave Smith was a real staunch supporter of RFK. But when it came to the situation in Israel and Palestine, it troubled David. Here is an example of somebody from a certain people standing up. And at first I wasn't sure. I looked at him, I heard him, and I was like, wait a second.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
We need to roll back the state. We spy on all of our own citizens. Our prisons are flooded with nonviolent drug offenders. If you want to know who America's next enemy is, look at who we're funding right now. Every single one of these problems.
I don't know if you just got hip to all of this all of a sudden, because he says a lot of stuff. It's I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for this guy. But then we'll go into his stand-up.
Are a result of government being way too big.
You're listening to Part of the Problem on the Gas Digital Network.
Very well produced. A bunch of followers. Part of the Problem. Dave Smith.
Here's your host, Dave Smith.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. I am so grateful today to have returning to the show Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Of course, he's been on the show before. It's been a little while. For everybody listening, I'm sure everybody knows he is a candidate for President of the United States.
An hour and 25 minutes long.
Well, it changes things drastically when there's three viable candidates rather than two, which is something we're very not used to seeing.
The fact that we are in a duopoly system, the left and the right wing, and because of that, there's no progress. It's the left oar and the right oar, and the ship is heading to Zion.
In American presidential politics. I mean, and I say this as a member of the Libertarian Party, who I wish we were always offering up
I would say if I had to bring on some type of political identity, it would be libertarianism. But then again, that gets totally co-opted and psyoped. And let's continue.
A true contender, but the reality of the situation is that just hasn't been the landscape in American politics. As I mentioned, since really Ross Perot in 1992, I think was the last one. And in my lifetime, I think the only one.
Fun fact, before our lifetime, the number one biggest third party was the anti-Masonic Party, which later turned into like the Whigs, the Tories, or whatever. But yeah, the biggest gathering of not Republican, not Democrat, not left, not right, was the anti-Masonic Party. We've never heard of that in our history books. It goes to show you who won that.
Yeah. And then why? I heard that you were going to be the candidate for the Libertarian Party, which would have been very exciting. I'm glad I'm not running against you. That would be very formidable. You'd be the most formidable opponent I have. But what happened?
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Yes, there were. I was considering it for a period of time. There were a lot of people in the Libertarian Party who wanted me to run. Ultimately, it just came down to kind of family decisions. I have two very little kids, and it just seemed like a little bit too much for me to take on right now. We went through a lot of things. My son had some serious health problems. All better now. He's doing great. But it was just a little bit too much of an undertaking for me in 2024. But maybe in 2028 we'll go head to head.
Would you consider the vice presidency?
Oh man, what are you trying to do to me? You're going to funding the proxy war in Ukraine.
So RFK did have his stance about the Ukraine-Russian war was less neoconish than the rest of the world. And Dave Smith was on board with that. Forward.
War in Iran. What do you have you changed your position at all on this? Does the threat of a wider war give you pause on kind of the blank check support for Israel's war in Gaza, or are you still steadfast in we must support them till the end?
No, I mean, let me give some context. First of all, I think people who that criticism of Israel is fair, and
I mean, I know we all know he has this hard time speaking, but when he starts stuttering and pausing, and he's not able to speak at all, that's beyond him, his throat problem. That's him clamoring and grasping.
Encourage people to do that. It's a democracy, and I'm not a fan of Bibi Netanyahu's. I'm a long-term critic of his. I think what happens in the Mideast is everywhere is that the zealots.
Here he goes to explaining away his 100% support for Israel. That happens to be run by Benjamin Netanyahu, but he doesn't personally agree with Benjamin Netanyahu on everything except for his war.
On both sides, the militarists on both sides feed on each other, and that they have a symbiotic relationship with each other, and that everything they do to escalate the violence and the hatred actually empowers their partner on the other side. And I think Netanyahu,
their partner on the other side. The fact that Netanyahu's Israel propped up Hamas, just like they did ISIS and Al-Qaeda, to create instability so that they can't organize, so that they war with each other. Does that sound similar?
is in this very perverse partnership with Hamas. I'm a opponent of the Likud. I was a vocal protester against the so-called judicial reforms.
Go look into the history of the Likud party. Started by terrorists, run by terrorists, just like the state of Israel. A whole terrorist, mafioso operation. And they got their own country. And they act just like it. And when those accused of such criminal, mafioso, pedophiliac activities get charged in one country, mostly America, they flee to Israel for a safe haven to live out the rest of their life underneath an olive tree, living like an effendi.
Israel last summer, 20% of the people in Israel came out onto the street. One of the biggest demonstrations in the history of that nation. It has the best judiciary, the most humane judiciary in the world. I'm a lawyer and a constitutional lawyer, and I know there is no judiciary in the world that has taken the courageous positions that Israel's Supreme Court. By the way, there are Palestinians on that court.
Palestinians in and around the area of Israel have nothing close to an equal status as the Jewish Israeli. That's just fucking obvious.
And as there are Palestinians at every level of the Israeli judiciary. I oppose the settlements in the West Bank. They're illegal under Israeli law, and they're illegal.
Here's his lip service, and now watch him totally negate everything he just says right now.
Under international law, and I'm generally opposed to wars. I'm not, I think there are just wars. Very few of the wars that we have fought, particularly in the last century, have been just. I would say World War II is alone in that category.
Why? Because of the schmozzies and what they did to the chosen people that put them in work camps? We did a lot worse to the Arabs after Shemaim 11, to the Japanese.
My grandfather vigorously opposed World War I and lost a lot of his friendships during that period. And my uncle John Kennedy felt the same way. We should have never gotten involved in that war.
You are a disgrace to JFK. Not that he's some saint who floated down from the seventh heaven on the face of a cherubim, but he did stand up against Israel. And when we put all the pieces together, it was his opposition to Israel that ultimately led to his assassination. So you, my friend, are a disgrace to your ancestry.
And I feel,
and I say my friend with the tongue firmly planted in my cheek,
the same way. That was a war of choice. World War II was not. It was a just war, in my view. We were attacked at Pearl Harbor.
I have a lot of questions about Pearl Harbor.
And we responded by declaring war on the Japanese and their allies in the Axis power. And Hitler was a disease and Nazism that had to be eradicated.
So we're going to get a history lesson from our 5th grade U.S. history book. And I could just go grab one from any shelf right now and totally tear it apart as total propaganda from the publishing house of Robert Maxwell, father of Ghislaine Maxwell, partner of Jeffrey Epstein of a Mossad Israel honeypot.
Eradicated, and there would be no peace in the world until Germany was denazified. In fact, at Casablanca, Roosevelt, Churchill.
Dave Smith agrees with this because he happens to be from the winning side of this war. It wasn't the Germans. It was the people who declared war against the Germans. Organized world Jewry declared war against Germany after they had a stranglehold on their whole economic financial system. They're paying for a loaf of bread with a wheelbarrow of useless freaking bills of money, currency. And they tried to stand up for themselves, and because of that, they lost, and so they're the enemies in our Marvel comic books, the Red Baron. They've turned the good guys into the bad guys, and the bad guys into the fucking good guys.
Had a big fight about it because Roosevelt.
And I'm not a freaking Schmittler fanboy. Ultimately, how did he do for Germany. He ran them off into Russia, into the middle of winter, on a suicide mission. No rational sense. And when you look into who propped him up into power and what was the result of that whole thing, the creation of the state of Israel, to hold him up as a hero makes no goddamn sense.
Had made the
And there's no resurrecting that. We're not going to bring out the swastika as a symbol of a force against the Jewish powers and its pawns of Christianity and Islam even. That's beyond salvation in this lifetime. So it's really just hurting. So come up with something else.
the announcement during Casablanca without checking with Churchill, demanding unconditional surrender, which meant denazification and the elimination of Hitler. And Churchill got furious at him because he said that's going to cause every German to fight until the last man. And Roosevelt said there will never be any peace until we denazify. And that objective cost 2 million German civilians their lives. We killed 2 million German civilians in order to destroy Hitler and denazify the government. And as a result of that, we did the same thing in Japan.
We killed a lot more than 2 million Germans. They say the sacred number of 6 million died in the Holocaust, which is probably, they sent them to work camps. We know how they don't like to work. They would rather sit underneath the tree and study the Torah. The work is for the Goyim. Just as on the 7th day of the week that they sit back and do nothing, won't even turn on a light switch, and have a Shabbos Goy do it for them. In the Shabbat year, the Shabbos Goy does all the work for them, and every day is like the Sabbath for them. The foreshadowing.
Yeah. Mass destruction of civilians, including bombs, atomic bombs on their cities, which you can argue, a lot of people argue we should not have done. And I think that those arguments have a lot of merit. But the fact is, we did it. And as a result of that, of demilitarizing Japan and denazifying Germany, those countries became two of the richest countries in the world. Germany is the richest country and most powerful country in Europe. And Japan, until the rise of China, was by far the wealthiest country in Asia. Both of them were very, very close. Yeah, the parole board.
It's so hard to listen to. I know I have sympathy for people who have speech. I was born with real buck teeth, and my hearing wasn't the best, I guess, because I just don't like to listen to anybody except for my own voice in my head. So I have sympathy with people who just don't have the gift of the golden tongue. But at the same time, shit.
And visit survival. Dumbfounded about your position on this one. To compare the Nazi problem to the Hamas problem, the Nazis ruled from
A Jew. Dave Smith is Jewish. So perhaps that's the only reason why he's given this pulpit to spiel from, but he happens to be on the right side for this. So let us lift up those Jews who speak up in defense against the majority of the Jews.
France to Poland. They had almost all of Europe taken over and were then going after England and Russia. Hamas doesn't even rule Gaza. They're the toughest gang in an Israeli prison. So to compare these two as if there's any, I mean, I just there.
I don't agree with that totally, but okay.
Anywhere near the same threat to the civilized world is just the comparison falls immediately. And
Preach, David Smith. If we have to have Jews rule over us, maybe this Jew won't be so bad.
And on top of that, if you want to say that, well, we want the Palestinians to live these great lives, and the reason they can't do that is because of Hamas. Well, that certainly doesn't seem to be the reason in the West Bank. And the Palestinians have, since 1967, lived under totalitarianism. And it's just totally inexcusable. There's just no justification for it. Israel won a war in 1967. I'm glad you admitted that the settlements are illegal under international law. It's also illegal under international law to gain territory through war. Israel gained the West Bank and Gaza through war. They have absolutely no legal claim on these territories, and no moral claim on these territories for that matter either. There's nothing there, and they've held them since 1967.
David Smith, among a handful of other Jewish people who are standing up against this in the limelight, is it odd that it is only them who are allowed to? Not to take anything away from him, but just an observation.
Now, yes, it is true that the resistance movements against them have taken some ugly forms, and Hamas, who, of course, as you also know well, has been supported and propped up by Israel throughout the years. Yes, they've grown into a very ugly terrorist group, and what they did on October 7th was horrible. But the obvious answer here is that we need to...
But do you condemn Hamas? See, it's still a little bit of a limited hangout. Not to take anything away from it, but just to frame it in reality.
And certainly an American president's perspective should be that we need to be encouraging the peace process here. I mean, you talk about we have to eradicate Hamas. Okay, so U.S. officials, as of right now, they estimate that about 20% of Hamas has been eradicated. Right now, 50% of the homes in Gaza have been destroyed. So what are we going to do? Destroy all of them? Do we honestly think? I mean, it's almost like you're doing insurgent math here, like General McChrystal warned against. So what do you think? We'll just destroy all of Gaza, and then we won't have to deal with this Hamas problem anymore. Although what you've already seen right now from the Houthis, from Hezbollah, from Iran, from everybody in this region, you're seeing, and of course, Shiite-controlled Iraq. Thank you, George W. Bush, and Shiite-controlled Syria. You're only going to drum up more hatred. I think this is the worst move for the security of the Israeli people of any of the available options.
Okay, so all of those arguments sound good. So let me deconstruct them. Mm-hmm. First of all, I was not comparing the Hamas, the threat of Hamas as a global threat to the Nazis. That's not where they're similar.
It sure sounded like it to me. Dave Smith, good for you.
Where they're similar is that it's an ideology driven.
They're not similar. But where they're similar.
And conflict. It's not.
Sounds like the rabbis. Some just good old fashioned pull pill.
Territorial and has no negotiating position. It's a group that is committed to the genocide of all Jews, not only in Israel, but all over the world. And that is committed to the annihilation of Israel. And that has in its covenant a prohibition against even negotiating with Israel, except as a route.
Well, we know that Palestine came to the table hoping for a two-state solution, and Donald Trump, Zion Don himself, even came to the realization that Israel, with Benjamin Netanyahu at its head, didn't want it, weren't sincere.
So their covenant says that's a violation, it's a sin against Islamic law.
It's a sin against Jewish law to make any oath or bond or agreement with anybody, any goy, especially to give up any piece of your land from the Euphrates to the Tigris, from the river to the sea. Palestine will no longer be, is what their motto is.
To even negotiate with Israel. So the big question I would have for you, and I'll ask it at the end, is what is your path to peace? Is it, the people who are demanding a temporary, an unconditional ceasefire are leaving hostages there. They're leaving. Hamas is firing hundreds of missiles a day onto Tel Aviv. People say that Gaza is one of the most densely populated places in the world. That's not true. Tel Aviv has twice the population density, and they're firing hundreds of missiles a day. How is Israel supposed to stop that? They fired 30,000 missiles between 2006 and October 7th, and they fired 10,500 since October 7th. What other nation in the world would put up with that, with a neighbor firing missiles onto their civilian population after declaring that they intend to annihilate the nation and to kill all of its citizens? Now, you said that you made a statement that is absolutely incorrect, which is that you cannot claim that under international law, it's illegal to claim territory. And you won in a war.
To acquire territory
Hussein
through
Dodd.
war.
Thank you
If
for
you
being
are
here.
fighting a defensive war, it is absolutely legal. And I can name you 100 precedents. Take land that was used to launch a war against you, and that is strategically important to your country. After Germans attacked us, do you think we broke up Germany? Yes, we did. We removed the Sudetenland. We gave it to Czechoslovakia.
Do you know that Germany, who is totally crippled and has been for a long time, pay out an unsubstantial amount every year to Israel? 60%, maybe more, of the money that was used to create the state of Israel came from Germany. Just to show you how Schmittler totally fell right into their trap. So he's not your fucking hero, neo-Nazis. Now I have German heritage. And I feel bad that our German people got hoodwinked and scallywagged into that. Now, can I revivify my ancestral Germanic heritage? Hopefully.
Broke up the entire
By praising Hitler isn't the fucking way to go.
Ottoman Empire, which was and we took all of it, 100% of their territory, and we gave it to people. We invented new.
Hold on.
This is something they do. They pick out something in history. Well, what about this? And then look what this is. It's a deflection method.
We're talking about before international law.
After World War
Dave Smith, as a Jew, knows that deflection tactic. And he's calling out this goy for trying to use one of his moves.
I, we created 22 new nations. After World War II, we created 122.
Yes, but as you know, sir,
maps, cutting up territory, slicing and dicing, and we did that because international law allows, particularly when you're fighting a defensive war, to claim strategic land.
The definition of a defensive war is so not cut into lines. Preemptive strikes. Rise up and strike them before they strike you, so you come up with any paranoid, schizophrenic reason to go out and strike somebody else because they're not part of your in-group.
Was used against you.
okay, let me just
So
Okay, let me just respond to a couple things there, because as you know, sir, if you're talking about World War I, well, this is before all of these international laws were put into effect, which were a response to World War II. So that is a little
bit after World War II.
Yes, yes, but I'm just saying, as far as the portion of World War I goes, there's that. But number two, is your claim that the 1967 war was a defensive war and therefore it's okay? Because look, Menachem,
1967 war.
Yes.
Well, then I would say, yeah, the 1967 war was a defensive war because Israel made clear, and Egypt understood this, that closing the straits was an.
I would like this time to bring up the attack on the USS Liberty, where Israel attacked an American surveillance gathering, like naval ship, a bunch of freaking nerds, sunbathing on their deck, got constantly bombarded by Israel airplanes, probably ones that we fucking gave them, because we give them everything, and we're told that they were unmarked. It was a false flag operation to try to blame on Egypt so that America would go and fight for them. Just like 9/11, how they got us to go fight all their wars in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, ones that they never joined in. Just like they want us to go and fight their war right now against Iran, who's their big boogeyman. And they won't send any of their fucking troops in. It took them so long to send any troops into on land, any boots on the ground, to go even into fucking Palestine. These cowards. Look at their TikTok videos. They're meant to study the Torah. They're not meant to go and be fucking soldiers. So they will bring us, non-thems, to go and fight their wars for them, as prophecy has told us in the Mishnah.
An existential threat to Israel.
Okay, well, Menachem Begin himself said that it was a war of choice and that we did not know for sure that the war was necessary. We chose to launch that war. Now, he goes on to defend it, of course, because Menachem Begin is a terrorist. And he's fine with that. And by the way, I don't say that as a pejorative term. The guy was literally a self-described terrorist who committed many acts of terrorism.
The father of terrorism, even. Oh, sip that fucking weird-ass fucking mug.
But, I'm sorry, pre-creation of Israel, not just the post-creation of Israel. And he's the founder of the Likud party. But even like the most hardcore Zionists like Ben Shapiro or Dennis Prager, they all refer to it as a preemptive war. Look, I don't even necessarily care.
It was preemptive. It was preemptive because Egypt announced that it was going to close the straits.
Where that gave the Zionists 56% of a lot of independent either murdered or forced.
We'll have official religion, historical records.
I didn't say. I didn't.
And said, and it removed weapons, rockets, etc. They have torn up the irrigation system and made it agricultural.
All right, I just want to go into. I'll have to go to my X page, or do I? I deleted it because I think Adam has it. Let's hear. I think he posted it. Boom, boom, boom. If you didn't watch Adam's, here we go. 26 seconds. This is the money shot.
Do you have concerns about the level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States?
Pull up.
Do you have concerns about the level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States of America?
3, 2, 1.
I don't know. mean, I don't know.
Do you have concern?
Look at how weak he is. How long it took him to answer this question, and then how he fumbles.
About the level of Israeli influence in our politics here in the United States of America?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, I'm not a politician in political office.
You're not a politician running for political office with the last name Kennedy? Is politics something so foreign to you?
So I don't see much of that.
Do you have concerns about the level of Israeli influence in?
Yeah. Now let's look up David Smith. Let's go. Dave Smith. The Fire Bernstein. It's just another example of Jews running media and having a stranglehold on comedy. We had one who tried to speak out against it, Dave Chappelle, and he's just a Muslim, so he's just fighting in the sandbox. But
Like he says he loves.
Is this guy funny? What is he talking about? Here is his thing. Let's watch his stand-up routine.
Loves Jews.
Matt Dubia.
Oh, shit.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. New York City, what the fuck is going on? How is everybody? Feeling good? Hell yeah. Yeah. The world is going crazy. It's hard to keep up because things are too weird. I'll try to keep you guys up to speed, okay, if you're not up to date. Kanye West loves Jews. Yeah, you guys probably thought he still hated Jews, but that's just because you're not up to date. He loves Jews. You got to follow him on Twitter to keep up, but this is true. Kanye West
I just said that, Matt.
that
I just
he
said
saw
that.
21 Jump Street,
Verbatim.
and it was so funny that now he loves Jewish people. I'm a Jew.
What's that? What's that? Our biggest voice against Judaism.
He loves Jews. You got to follow him on Twitter to keep up. But this is true. Kanye West tweeted that he saw 21 Jump Street, and it was so funny that now he loves Jewish people. I'm a Jew. I'm not a good Jew.
He's not a good Jew because he criticizes it. But here is the voice against the capital V voice. It's still fucking one of them. Not that there's anything, but you get what I'm saying. But, and then Christians are the same. Muslims the same.
I know I'm not a good Jew because when Kanye tweeted that he doesn't hate Jewish people anymore, I swear to God, my initial gut reaction was like, you fucking caved, you bitch. You know?
True. It's not funny. It's sad. You'll find that out that much of what they say is not funny.
Like, I thought we were going for it, man. What the fuck?
Seinfeld, that gets run on Comedy Central throughout the whole fucking day. Why? It's not funny. It's to get us to get used to them just whining the whole fucking time. Why is my soup lukewarm? Why? Unfunny ass fucking Jerry Seinfeld gets run 6 hours out of the day. And then it goes to what? To Cartman and or Family Guy or Simpsons, which are all anti-white. gosh, I was watching, I just had the TV on in the background, and it was about a boy kissing another boy, his boyfriend, in school. And how, in fucking elementary. And guess what? It's all fucking Jewish. The actors, the producers, the owners of the studio, it's all fucking Jewish. The people in charge of letting all these foreigners come into our borders, all fucking Jewish. Christianity, it's all fucking Jewish. Islam, it's all fucking Jewish. You get that through your fucking thick head.
What happened? I was so disappointed. Did you see did you follow him when he went on his 3-week I Hate the Jews fest? It was so awesome. I'm not saying everything.
They'll label him a self-hating Jew for having a moment of candidacy. For being candid for a moment in time and space. Totally not funny. But he's talking about sensitive topics. You know what? I should just get into comedy.
Everything he said was right.
But usually when I go on my spiel, it just gets depressing.
But it was fun. And it took balls.
And then they fucking cut off his balls and circumcised them again. And made him take a trip to fucking Auschwitz behind fucking Elon Musk, the last aspiring Jew, to try to speak up against the fucking hand that feeds them. Weak fuckers.
I respect courage. And I think we don't have enough of it today.
Matt says Seinfeld without a laugh track isn't funny. It's just Jay whining. You fucking nailed that. Yes. Yes, Matt. Who's saying, David, the best way to control the opposition is to lead it? That maybe could have been the title of this video.
There's not enough men who demonstrate courage, and Kanye demonstrated a lot. He lost over $1 billion of net worth just because he had to tell the world that he fucking hates Jews. When was the last time you believed in anything that much?
The best way to control the opposition is to lead it. Let me just, with that in mind, thank you, chat. Listen to this motherfucker again.
I respect courage, and I think we don't have enough of it today. There's not enough men who demonstrate courage, and Kanye demonstrated a lot. He lost over $1 billion of net worth just because he had to tell the world.
Oh, but the Jews don't have any power, though. That's the anti-Semitic trope. That's a canard.
World that he fucking hates Jews.
He didn't say that. He never said that he hates Jews. As much as I can't believe I'm actually defending Kanye West in anything, because he ultimately just served their purpose. I bet you donations to the ADL went up 1,000-fold after the Kanye fucking thing.
When was the last time you believed in anything that much? I have deeply held views that I would abandon for $35 right now. You gave me a 20, a 10, and a 5, and I'd be like, I'll think about it.
There's him just displaying his Judaism on Front Street, really. He'll do anything for fucking a couple of shekels. I know that sounded bad, but hey, he set that up. You set that up, player. I'm knocking it down.
So much fun. You see, he went on Alex Jones' show. Did you watch that? Do you know how fucking hard you gotta go?
And then here's another example of Alex Jones being merely a controlled opposition dead end.
to make.
It's like, oh, I'm concerned about Israel's power in government. And then they're like, oh, you also believe in flat earth? That's what he's doing.
Alex Jones, the voice of reason in a conversation. Like, how fucking far you got to take it before Alex Jones is like, I wouldn't go that far. Alex Jones was all nervous and shit. He was trying to throw Kanye lifelines. Like, it's like, he says he loves Adolf Hitler. He doesn't really love Adolf Hitler. You know, he doesn't mean that. And Kanye's like, I do love Adolf Hitler, motherfucker. Like, oof. I loved it. I thought it was great. People got very offended. I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me to be offended by a rapper. You know what I mean? Like, rappers say wild shit.
And Jews fucking pay him. Liar Cohen. Look at the Jewish influence behind the rise of hip-hop gangster rap. It's the same people behind the rise of the crack cocaine addiction.
That's what they do. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I'm from a different time.
That's also fucking racist as shit.
I'm from a faraway, magical time known as the
Anunnaki. The Nephilim is where the Jews descended from.
1990s. That's my time. That's the last time things made sense to me. And in the 90s, you didn't get a...
This motherfucker is 3 minutes and 40 seconds in on a stand-up routine and is unfunny as shit. Just like the Jerry fucking Seinfeld fucking shows. He can't fucking... Rick Rubin, yes. He can't fucking paste in people laughing in the background on this. But...
offended by rappers. That would be ridiculous.
Why? You know who's actually really racist as fuck against black people? Jews! Look up fucking the owner of the LA Lakers and what he said about Magic Johnson. Some of the most racist shit you've ever heard. And he's like, you know who got it right about how they treat blacks? Is how they treat blacks in Israel.
Rappers say crazy shit. They're like, fuck the police.
And so Kanye West, I know I'm talking a lot. Kanye West talks out about the Jews, and then they'll say that he's a psychologically imbalanced person, just like they did to Bobby Fischer. One of their own, just like Dave, but Bobby Fischer is a lot fucking cooler than Dave Smith, who stood up, the number one chess player in the world, a half-bred, stood up against Jewish. He was smart enough to fucking wake up to it, spoke out against it, and they called him mentally insane. While he beats people in chess with his fucking hands tied behind his back.
G's up, hose down. You know? No one's ever...
That's kind of degrading to black people. G's up, hose down. And if you're a black person who tries to rap about something that's holistic, Liar Cohen wouldn't fucking put it on his YouTube music fucking channel that he got put in charge of. A total piece of shit scumbag, Liar Cohen. Look up any video about Liar Cohen. Just the name Liar.
Like, that's very offensive to the hose.
Your channel's not monetized. They don't want me to be monetized. You should set up channel memberships. I'm trying to send Super Chat, won't let me because your channel's not monetized, I think. They won't let me. I was blocked for some time. Yeah, the funniest character wasn't a J, it was Kramer, a Goyim. But then they like to use him as the funny guy puppet that they could use to make money off of. Elaine, a half-bred. Sometimes the half-breds are the worst and the best. It was the worst of times and the best of times with the half-breds.
You'd be like, I don't think you get it. Now people get offended, but I don't know. That didn't fuck with me. What fucked with me was that the day before Kanye did Alex Jones' show, he had dinner with Donald Trump. That fucks with me.
And Nick Fuentes was there.
The fact that rappers meet with presidents. But that's what
Is it? Taylor Swift has more sway in the public opinion than 90% of our politicians.
where we're at now, America. Rappers meet with presidents.
Evil America. Where's your fucking allegiancy to?
Kanye met with Trump. Cardi B went to the White House and met with Joe Biden. Yeah, that happened. Before.
Okay, it's now 6 minutes in. The motherfucker still hasn't said anything funny. But here he has his whole fucking front stage special.
Trump, Common, and
he's dressing like a black person.
Jay-Z both went to the White House and they met with Barack Obama. That's where we're at as a country. Rappers meet with presidents.
This is something called the demoralization. It's a big part of the psychological operation. You just give up on yourself. And then you eventually join the other side and to fight against yourself without even knowing is what Christianity, the Jewish invention, did against pagan Rome. It got them to turn against their own people and started fucking tearing down their own temples and defacing their own statues and calling them idols.
And then the president is like, what do you think I should do? And the rapper's like, well, buckle up because I have a lot of ideas. And the president's like, thank God, I am fresh out of ideas. I have no clue what I'm doing here. That's weird to me. In the 90s, rappers didn't meet with presidents. Rappers stayed in their lane, and presidents stayed in their lane. Rappers were gangsters. Presidents were presidents. They didn't mix. You remember, any of you guys like around my age, like kids during the 90s? Do you remember how...
Do you remember when comedians were actually funny? This guy is fucking not funny.
Gangster rappers were in the 90s? They were so hardcore. Yeah, maybe they weren't, but we believed it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You ever see like a gangster rapper from the 90s and you see the shit they're doing today? Like the ones who lived. You see the shit they're doing today and it just fucks you up because you can't even believe it. You know, you see like Snoop Dogg and he's like hanging out with Justin Bieber. And like in your heart, you're like, Snoop Doggy Dogg? You should be stabbing Justin Bieber. Like, what are you doing? You guys are friends? I thought murder...
Kind of racist. We're going to skip. When you get funny, bro.
Everything kind of made sense to me in the 90s.
I'm a whining fucking kvetching fucking person. Somehow that's funny.
Like, I just felt like everything was where it was supposed to be. Like, rappers were rappers. Presidents were presidents.
Jews were in the gulags.
Boys were boys. Girls were girls. Like, they didn't switch.
Oh, he's doing the Benjamin genocide fucking Shapiro spiel. Who goes to the border, yet who says he doesn't care about the browning of our country. But when the popular public sway is in one way, then they're going to jump on that train and punch that fucking ticket.
You know what I mean? It's now, I don't even know the world I'm living in anymore. I don't understand.
Angel says she prefers me singing. All right, after I play this, I'm going to sing a song.
Like, people have these heated debates, and they're furious at each other about things we never even thought of. Like, they're debating transgenders and women's sports. That's a real debate that's happening across the country, and people are at each other's throats. Like, the right-wingers are like, that's a biological man. He can't compete in women's sports. And then the left-wingers are like, what do you mean that's a man? That's a beautiful woman with a penis. And, like, they're furious, just arguing with each other. And I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, can we all just take a deep breath and take a step back and just return to a simpler time when we had consensus on this issue? And
he's a new age rabbi, is what you are. And you're not funny. Where's the funny?
We all agreed that we don't care about women.
Who dressed you? Kanye West fucking fashion fucking designer? Stylist? Who fucking got fired?
Women's sports. Like, what? Why is it even a thing? When did we start letting
Sorry, did I ruin your joke by pausing it? Well, it must have been a shitty joke.
them do it? I don't remember.
Why? I don't even remember. Why?
Supposed to be anymore, including me.
Those are.
I'm also not where I'm.
You're also not white. Fellow white people, there's a pair of white Nikes that have never seen a day of work in their life. Those are Shabbos white Nikes right there.
I'm supposed to be. I know I'm not. Because, like, I'm objectively, what I am is I'm a 40-year-old dad. And I feel like as a 40-year-old dad, I should be looking at the younger generation. Like, I should look at a 20-year-old kid, and I think I should feel like, I should be like, whoa, these kids are wild. Like, that's the natural order. Is a 40-year-old dad looks at a 20-year-old kid and goes, these kids are out of control. But I'm not doing that. I'm a 40-year-old dad, and I'm looking at these 20-year-old kids, and I'm like, could you stop being such a fucking faggot for like 5 seconds?
Whoa, he said the F word. He's so out of the box. He's so controversial. This guy fucking sucks. But he did ask some questions to RFJK Jr.
And now everyone's fucking offended all the time, and also the country's
Facts, only feelings. This is how they are co-opting the right.
falling apart. So maybe it's not the best fucking plan, you know? Maybe this didn't work out so well. And this country is falling apart. We're all living through it. This shit is collapsing fast. I think COVID really exposed it. COVID's where we found out that shit is really not stable. Because it was kind of like a stress test for America, you know? It was like you throw a crisis at your country, and then you see where you're at, and we didn't do good. They threw a crisis at us, and our grade was full-blown retard. That's what our score was on COVID. We just did stupid shit, and we just kept doing it. It was like around, I think it was in April or May of 2020, when they had these 3 big studies that came out, and they all showed that the cloth masks don't do anything. They don't help you avoid COVID at all. And as a country, we were just like, well, we're already doing it, so we're gonna keep doing it for several years, probably. I hated the fucking mask phase. I hated that. I didn't want to wear them. I'm not like even saying I'm better than anyone. Even before those studies came out, when I thought the masks might work, I still didn't want to wear them. Like, even when I thought I might be killing an old lady, I was like, she's had a good run, you know? Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can't breathe my hot breath all day. But back then, I was tolerant. Like, I was tolerant of people who wore the mask. Like, I just wanted to be free. I was like, listen, I don't want to wear the mask, but if you want to...
Next.
But Joe Biden, you look at him and you're like, finally, someone with a firm grasp of the issues is at the helm.
Next.
Reevaluate everything. I'm not even sure if it was real. Like, was it all a dream? Did that really happen? Like, Donald Trump dipped his toe into politics and on his first shot became president of the United States of America? Did I imagine that, or did it really happen? I don't even know how to feel about it. Like, I used to think he was an idiot, but now looking back on it, I'm pretty sure he was a genius. Like, I feel like I was in an abusive...
Donald Trump as the Moshiach. What's the punchline? We'll skip ahead.
His hair and skin is not the color of any human being you've ever seen. And they're like, when you watch Trump on the news, it's like You're watching CNN and then a cartoon character comes onto the screen. Like you're watching fucking Roger Rabbit or some shit. And this guy terrifies them. They're like, he could ruin all of us. And they're right. Donald Trump's an alpha. That's how he runs off instinct. Everything's a gut reaction.
Ben Shapiro as a stand-up comedian who happens to actually fight against Israel in this whole matter. So that's the only difference. What? So I thought I reposted something about him. I'm like, this is our guy. And then I looked into it more. I'm like, no, it's actually fucking not. Let's go through some other posts. What do we have going on in the news? Well, a daily reminder. This 95-year-old Ursula Haverbeck was sentenced to prison in Germany for questioning the events of World War II. This is what she looked like when she was fucking young. Yo. Can I say my ideal fucking wifey? Let's go. And now she's going to die in a prison for being a secretary or at the age of 95. How sad. Listen to this. Black History Month. All the Caucasians to the back. Here's a teacher walking into her classroom. Or perhaps it's a bit of satire, but there's a lot of truth behind it.
All the Caucasians to the back. Immediately. Honestly, thank you. Looks better already. All the Caucasians.
When I have children, they are not going to fucking public school. They're not going to Christian schools. We got to create our own fucking schools. The Pope condemns anti-Judaism. So we can't even be critical of their fucking genocidal fucking religious beliefs. And they equate it with anti-Semitism, which we saw happening, amid new waves of attacks against Jews. He says to be anti-Judaism or take part in anti-Semitism is a sin against God. Why? Because Jews are God, according to fucking Christianity. Wake the fuck up. Here was a popular meme. All of these people, Phlegon, Bar Serapion, Tacitus, Thallus, the Talmud, Josephus, Celsus, Suetonius, were all forgeries, perhaps pious forgeries, added on by Christians hundreds of years later after the so-called historical Jesus who never existed. But because they make a meme that makes it truth when it's not. Go to each one of these names mentioned and look it up. And you will find that none of them are credible sources of a historical Jesus extra biblically. That they were added on many years later. This is interesting. The skeptic. Christianity. Sending telepathic messages to a Jewish ghost, letting him know that you will accept him as your master, and to ask him to remove a magical curse that was passed down to you because an old woman that was made from the rib of her partner ate a piece of magical fruit from a magical tree because a talking snake told her to. I invite you to check out Albert Bashai's Spaces 2000.5 2.5 thousand tuned in the other day. Mark Cuban getting called out for his real name not being fucking Cuban. And he got called out, and that's their biggest fear, is to be unmasked. We stepped into the first day of February, which is originally goes back to the goddess Februa, or Imbolc, or Brigid's Day, Brigid, which are great ways to express our cultural, ethnical, even religiosity in ways separated from the Jewish one who hates white people. We'll end it with this one.
First of all, I have the greatest sympathy for all innocent people who die. I have a comment and a question.
Make it very quickly because we got to go. To
first, I have a comment and a question.
Make it very quickly because we got to go. To
first of all, I have the greatest sympathy for all innocent people who die in war, but the Jewish experience is not unique. I happen to be of Ukrainian descent, and 7 million of my people were murdered, and a disproportionate number of the perpetrators of these crimes in the Ukrainian famine happened to be Jews. Trotsky, Beria, Dzerzhinsky, and I'd like to know when I'm going to get my reparations for my murdered relatives.
Look at these fucking people on stage laughing about it.
And I'd like to know when I'm going to get my reparations for my murdered relatives.
Okay, Montel doesn't like that.
That's also another issue. We'll take a break.
It's another issue. No, it's not another issue. It's a very pertinent and relevant issue. Survivors of the Schmolocaust receive enough money to live today from our tax-paying money. But the rest of the world who suffer from that, even more so, are the ones paying for it. And my friends, that will sum it up for this evening's live stream on the Wake Movement. Thank you for being here. Peace.